In a new round of tariffs, Trump is going fairly and squarely after many countries. Is India part of it? Which are the affected countries and what are they going to do in return to United States? All this and more in this slide deck that we have for you, and a request as always to like, share, subscribe, follow as the case may be. Here we go. Trump targets digital tax nations. What are these nations? Well, if it is implemented, let's first take a look at the implications. This policy could reshape international negotiations on digital taxation. What is digital taxation? Supposing you have an internet connection, okay, or supposing you have a Google Gmail account or Google Workspace account or Google Gemini or AI, blah, 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 whatever it is. If countries start putting or levying digital taxes on that, then Trump wants to put 100% tariffs on those countries. Now, the dispute could complicate ongoing OECD negotiations, which is Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, to establish a global digital tax framework. Europe is expected to bear the brunt, while India has largely avoided the dispute by scrapping its equalization levy. There used to be there, but now it's been scrapped. Now, Trump has drawn a red line on digital taxes. Why? Well, because what Trump administration is saying that any country imposing a digital services tax, especially on American technology companies, they could face 100% tariff on all exports to the US. Trump argued that such taxes unfairly single out American firms while discriminating against US innovation. So I think what is being hinted here is that if the company operates out of Europe, then that tax does not get levied. This is the crux of the argument. So if you happen to be an American corporation, then it's going to be levied. But then things get a little gray, viewers, because Ireland is the place where many of the big Fortune 500 companies have incorporated themselves, because they do what is called as tax inversion. In other words, an incorporated country is where you pay the taxes, so you avoid the higher tax base in the United States and use Ireland, which used to be 12%. There has been talk to make it 15% and to try and normalize 15% corporate taxes across many countries. Everything was talk, no action yet. So Trump argued that such taxes unfairly single out American firms. That's the reason why he's saying unfairly singling out. The proposed tariff will override both existing and future trade agreements with offending countries. The warning represents one of the strongest US responses yet against digital taxation policies adopted overseas. I'm telling you, Europe is effed. The 6-letter word that starts with the letter F and ends with the letter D. They have really taxed the hell out of their residents, and they also have these dubious policies of having all these immigrants with the hope that they will go and fight their war for them in Russia, in Ukraine, in China, in this, in that, and those people are just unfit for anything. If anything, they might learn how to use guns and turn it against their own masters. Belen is a Roman emperor who tried that and found out to his horror. Anyway, let's get back to what is a digital services tax. It's imposed on revenue earned by large digital companies from online advertising, digital marketplaces, social media platforms, and other internet-based services like e-commerce stores. Many governments argue that global technology companies generate substantial revenues locally without paying taxes. But the tax primarily affects multinational firms such as Alphabet, that is Google, Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft. Washington has consistently maintained that these taxes disproportionately target American companies. But where does this affect or have the impact, the most impact? The most impact is in Europe. European countries are the ones that levy digital services taxes. France, United Kingdom, Spain, Austria, and several other European nations currently impose or maintain such taxes. Although the US and EU recently reached a broader tax agreement, digital taxation remained outside the final settlement. In other words, they'll continue to tax for digital services. This leaves one of the most contentious issues in transatlantic trade relations unresolved. Now, the first case that is being tested is France. France levied a 3% digital services tax in 2019, targeting large multinational technology companies. The levy applies to revenues earned from French users rather than corporate profits. Trump has repeatedly criticized France's policy, previously threatening tariffs on French wine, champagne, and so on and so forth. France continues to defend the measure as necessary to ensure fair taxation of digital businesses. So far, India has escaped the wrath of the Trump administration on this particular topic. India is unlikely to be directly affected because it has already abolished the equalization levy, commonly known as Google tax. The government first removed the 2% levy on e-commerce operators in 2024. The remaining 6% on digital advertising services was withdrawn through a finance bill in 2025, effective April 1, 2025. So India saw the warning sign. So 2% plus 6%, 8%. It's a pretty hefty overhead. They have withdrawn that. This decision has also helped remove a major source of trade dispute between India and United States. This new front in global trade wars is something that is going to shake up some of these countries because they have so much tax overhead, viewers, that it's impossible for them to walk away from any taxation. In fact, the taxation is so high in all these countries that it's impossible for them to walk away from any taxation. In fact, France voted, the parliament voted to try and curb some of the excessive spendings, and that was completely rejected. Nobody wanted to implement it. People want to continue to have all the benefits and not want to tighten their belts. So France and other countries are all going to have this problem, and if these tariffs come into effect, then wine from France, anything that identifies itself on a country basis, like expensive cars from Germany and so on and so forth, they would become much more dearer. The move increases pressure on governments to reconsider unilateral digital tax regime. And it also shows that Washington is willing to flex its muscles to try and ensure a fair playing field for its companies. The European Commission has rejected Trump's warning and reaffirmed its commitment to defend the bloc's regulatory autonomy. So they are going to butt heads now. I don't know which head is going to be able to prevail at the end. My bets are on Trump, but it's okay. I mean, people can think that, okay, EU has enough clout that it can get away with it. But what is the option that EU has? It can respond with countermeasures. It can levy something else. But let's see how this goes. I think that everybody will talk a big talk, but then finally at the end of the day, one side just tucks its tail and goes and submits to all the conditions, and life goes on. Big tech now has become the center of the dispute, and all the companies affected, like Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and so on and so forth, are generating billions of dollars in revenue in overseas digital revenue, despite often having limited physical operations in those countries. And like I said, because of tax inversion, many of these guys are also escaping paying taxes in the United States. That is United States government against United States based companies. Actually, they are US based companies, although they say they are headquartered in Ireland. That's a irony there. And I don't know when Trump is going to turn his attention to that and say, wait a minute, no more tax inversion. Everybody come back here and start working from United States. Put all your headquarters here. And that would be an interesting battle too. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Namaskar.